I'm Sam Lagassic.
And I'm Dreadful Dan Gallagher. And we're two old buddies that have lived our life at the edge of the mainstream.
So come join us where things are a little odd. This is the
You've got to believe.
It's alive! It's loose!
This earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
Hi guys, it's me, Dreadful Dan G, on the ODDCAST, as always, with the wonderful, special, spanking, shiny Sam Lagassic. Hello, Sam.
Oh, hello. How's it going?
Good, thank you. How are you? Feeling a bit under the weather, right?
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, my allergies have been playing up. But luckily I've been eating lots of Jell-O. I've been, I've been doing some sexual athletics.
Don't need to hear about that.
Put some lipstick on and wearing plastic raincoats. It's great.
That sounds like an absolutely bonkers week, but I'm not surprised. That is exactly the kind of thing I expect you to be doing in your normal day-to-day life. Of course, we're joking, listeners. We're joking. He's naming tracks from the album Pom Pom by Ariel Pink, because that's today's subject that we're going to talk about. Ariel Pink's 2014 album Pom Pom, one that I think both of us kind of consider to be his magnum opus. I know we're both fans. Sam?
Yeah. I was a really big fan. Well, I still am. This made my number one album, if you remember.
Yeah.
We did if people want to go search back to the albums of top albums of 2010s.
Yeah, the whole decade.
The entire decade. This made my number one. Should we give a little listen as a bit of an intro for people who don't know?
Let's do it.
My number one album of the 2010s, and probably one of my favorite albums of all time, just from that alone. Loved it. What about you, Dan? It's funny because it's like you were the one who got me into. Do you remember how you introduced me to Ariel Pink?
No, not at all.
Because you remember you wanted to go to a gig or whatever.
Yeah.
We're like, we're going to whatever, and you said basically there's a choice.
Oh, yeah.
You're like, there's a choice between two people we can go and see.
Yeah, Dead Rider was one. I already had the tickets for Dead Rider.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Or we can go see Ariel Pink. And you said, have a look, tell me which one you'd rather go to. And I remember looking at Ariel Pink, and I don't remember anything about Dead Rider, to be honest, but I remember looking at Ariel Pink, and he was, because obviously, well, not obviously, but he can look different from one shoot to another. He changes his look quite a lot, but this one he looked like a 70s like glam rock,
he had that
kind of like weirdo
glam trash look.
That's right, yeah. And it was like this like onesie, like an ABBA style like suit, and he was just laying down trying to look sexy, and I was like, who the fuck is this guy? And then listened to some of the tracks, and I think this was on that tour, right? So I probably listened to some of this album and was like, oh, this sounds interesting, let's go to that one. And I remember you saying, you were like, Ariel Pink might be more interesting because he tends to be, it's a bit Brian Jonestown. It tends to be like some drama on stage and whatever. He has arguments with people, whatever. And all the levels have to be right and stuff. And I was like, yeah, fuck it. Let's go to that. Let's do it. And that was in the Bethnal Green Working Men's Club.
It was, I remember that gig well.
Yeah,
I can't believe I left a decision of such magnitude in your hands.
Well, it was lucky you did, because I think I made the right choice.
Yeah, I still feel a bit sad I never saw Dead Rider, and I still haven't seen them. And they're a really good band. You should check them out. Kind of a bit more like noisy, experimental, indie, angular rock band. But
it could have gone a lot differently. Our lives could have gone so much differently.
That was
Would
a
they
cool
have
gig,
released?
because we also saw Harry Merry that night for the first time. He was a support act.
That's right. For those who don't know, like Bethnal, I don't think I have been there before or since Bethnal Green working. Actually, maybe I did go once afterwards, but it is literally like, not people in America or wherever, well, people in fucking England aren't probably going to know what working men's clubs are. They're basically like little working class social get together houses, basically. Yeah. But everything looks like, generally speaking, I mean, they can all look different, but generally speaking, it's like they look like old meeting halls, like pub lookouts, like all, I don't know, how would you say it? Like,
it's like brown paneling
woody,
inside.
Brown paneling, that's it, yeah, and like green carpet kind of thing. It's that kind of vibe.
Sort of 50s looking, or even older.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it probably is a bit older. So that's the kind of vibe you go. So it's really weird, because then you've got what is essentially like what you'd expect, like a fucking school orchestra band or something to play. And then you've got like a school hall. Yeah. And then you've got Ariel Pink. If you remember, like we walked in and Ariel was just like by his own merchandise stall, just kind of sitting there. And
looking a bit surly.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, buy the lyrics to whatever. And I remember us going like, or maybe it was me, I can't remember, just basically, it's like a fat Kurt Cobain. Basically, because he had like, he's like real like pot tummy kind of like hanging out. And I think you were saying like, oh, he's been a bit bloated from drugs or something. I can't remember. Something like that. And then we saw Harry Merry play. And for those that don't know, it's kind of a running joke with me and Dan, because it's this like old man, like middle-aged old man, like fat, weird-looking guy dressed as a little sailor boy, singing songs that are just fucking weird.
Astonishing. That was my jaw dropped when I first heard. When he walked on stage, I thought, hello, this is going to be good. To happen?
Yeah.
And then the music, I've never heard anything like it before. So I do think he's great. And since then I've seen him live again, and I've bought quite a few of his records and things.
Yeah, well, we weren't sure like whether it was a joke or not, because I was like, is this like like supposed to be a comedy act thing, or is he taking it seriously? But we've found out afterwards that it's very much I suppose there is an element of humour to it, but
I think he's aware there's still a bit of something tongue in cheek, but it creates a bit of a tension.
Yeah,
it's slightly antagonistic in a way.
Yeah, it is, because it's not like, oh, isn't this shit? It's like these are songs that he genuinely has put together.
Yeah,
but he did like a TED talk. Do you remember?
Yeah. And when you listen to the music, it's actually quite complex. But it's like the whole presentation is so idiosyncratic and designed to, I think, your immediate take is, it seems quite rudimentary and puerile.
Yeah.
And like the sound is quite horrible from this like cheap keyboard.
Yeah.
But the songs themselves are really actually very well crafted.
Yeah. It's weird. It definitely takes it in another dimension, but we're not here to talk about Harry Merry.
No.
When Ariel Pink came on stage, I think we will do a Harry Merry episode in the future, but when Ariel Pink came on stage and started playing, if you remember, it was just this fucking wall of noise. It was and it's the only time ever I've been to a gig where in between songs, the audience is shouting, turn it down. Because it was crazy how loud it was.
Yeah.
And if you remember, there was one of the keyboardists, you just couldn't hear him at all.
No.
And
I couldn't hear anything.
And he knew it. And he was there. He was just like shrugging it off, like, whatever, just standing and doing it.
Oh, yeah, he was, wasn't he? Because people like petitioning him, and he was literally going, shrugging his shoulders, can't do anything about it. You're right. It was the loudest ever, and it was just like not fun, because the music actually you want to hear it and enjoy it.
Yeah,
and it's quite busy, and especially live, there's a lot going on, and it was just noise. It was just a muddy big load of noise. It got a little bit better towards the end. I think they must have done something, but despite that, we obviously went away and continued to listen to Ariel Pink's music, and we've seen him again since, haven't we? And it was excellent.
Yeah, that was a real change. Also, do you remember from that gig, because he took his shirt off, if you remember, it was really fucking hot in there, and some kid at the front like slapped his stomach or whatever. And he got really pissed off. Don't you remember?
No, I don't remember that.
He got really fucked off, and then he started like bashing like some of the fans' heads together. Not like proper like trying to push them together, because he just got so annoyed with the person doing it, and said in between the songs, I'm here to fucking do whatever, and you guys are fucking doing this, that. He got really fucking pissy and arsey about it. No surprise, really.
I remember him saying something about like buy more records. You guys are meant to be the people that are interested in buying my records, right? And the other, you're the fans. Well, dear.
Yeah, I remember him also saying, I bet you didn't think there were this many people that liked Ariel Pink. Yeah, it's true. And then we went to see him at Heaven. I remember that specifically because of the song as well. Which is, for people who don't know, Heaven is an actual venue, basically, for a start, rather than the Working Men's Club. That was really like a more of a gig in a good way, obviously. And he had got like, this is when he was going through, he's like short black hair, and he was a bit more dolled up and whatever, taking things a bit more seriously, I guess. That was really great. And funny enough, what's his name, George Elbrecht or whatever, was the support act, if you remember, who I was in contact with a little bit for like 10 minutes. And it's him like on a chair, and we weren't really sure what was happening. And it was like he had like a doctor standing next to him or something, which was quite cool. And then Ariel came on, did his whole bit, and I remember I went back and was reading on Twitter, just on the way home, just looking at what people were posting about it. There was loads of people like going like, "Oh, he came on to the encore and just did all this new stuff we haven't heard before. Just play the hits, man." And I was like, those were actually off his first album, which is some of my favorite tracks. So for me, those are the hits. Like just being a real pretentious like dick. But, it's like, but still. It's like, what the fuck is it with these people? It's like they don't even know. They're having a go at him. Like, what's all this new stuff? Will we play? It's like, no, it's actually really fucking old stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about him. A lot of his new stuff, he actually recycles really old stuff that's quite obscure.
Yeah.
But so why then today are we talking about Pom Pom of all the records that we could be talking about?
Finally getting around to it.
What makes it stand out above the others for you?
I guess like for me, it was a breath of fresh air in terms of I hadn't really heard anything like this before, or since really, apart from him again releasing similar stuff. But it's such like a melting pot of different sounds, different songs, melodies, different production. Some of them are just like, they're all like super catchy in their own way, which is great. Some of them are like funny, have like spoken word, like jokey kind of stuff in it.
Yeah.
Some of them are just like pure, like incredible, just like pop songs. But it's just weirdly experimental, but in the weird confines of just being completely transfixingly mainstream and yet not mainstream. And I think that's why it's such an oddity, is that it sounds like it could be a pop record from any era of contemporary music. I don't know. What about you?
Yeah, like you say, it's just that like melting pot of 60s, 70s and 80s kind of styles. There's some indie, there's some funk, disco, some metal kind of riffs, some really cool like 80s gothic kind of rock stuff going on. It's kind of like, it's a bit of an overused analogy, but it's like a White Album kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Where, I'm an album orientated listener. I like albums that are consistent and have a flow. But I also like kind of these like weird grab bag albums that are kind of like all over the place and cover lots of different ground. And that's what's so cool about the White Album. Like you could make a 1-disc White Album that was really solid.
Yeah.
And probably like maybe by many people's opinions, a better album, cut the weaker material, But I think like what's so cool about the White Album is that it's just like, no, we're going to give you everything across the spectrum. And I feel like that's what he does here.
Yeah.
And I think, like the artwork kind of reflects that, of just like being just pink with then like Pom Pom in black with like some glittery writing. But it feels like a statement album. Like, this is me everything, all the music I've made to this point has brought me here.
Yeah.
And this is like my big statement.
Yeah.
17 songs, I think.
Yeah, 17 songs.
Just covering.
Which is crazy.
Huge
Absolutely
array.
yeah. That's part of it, is that like going back and re-listening to this album for this episode, I forgot that's part of the reason why I like it, is because it just feels like you're spoiled.
Yeah.
Choice, basically. There's just so much to choose from. But you're right as well, like in terms of like, the whole This Is Me thing. Because preceding this, it was like Ariel Pink's Haunted Graffiti for the most part. And obviously kind of experimented in different names, really. But that's kind of his whole thing was Ariel Pink's Haunted Graffiti. But this was like Ariel Pink, like, as you said, this is me, this is him. And I do think it's a statement. And it's also like, if it's the production here, even though like the previous albums have been produced properly, but the production here just feels like another level. And because it's so different, it feels like a lot of time and a lot of consideration has been taken to these tracks, like never before that he's done, if you ask me.
Even though, so this was his third album with 4AD. So the first one was Before Today, which, as you said, was under the name Ariel Pink's Haunted Graffiti. That came out in 2010.
Incredible album as well.
Yeah. Followed that up 2012 with Mature Themes.
Yeah.
And both these albums, a very new kind of sound for him. People sling around this term lo-fi in a really lazy fashion, and it's not lo-fi at all, is it? It's very carefully constructed. I think, people use that for his recordings, bedroom recordings.
Yeah, his very early stuff.
But this 4AD era,
yeah.
Really like sparkling, amazing production. And like we said before, that attention to detail and understanding of all these various subgenres and being able to pull all of that together really authentically and like string all these weird parts together in ways that you don't expect. So he's already kind of like got that sound, and I really like that more commercial, cleaner sound. So we've had it on these two albums, and it feels like, this is where it culminates in maybe an even more considered and more serious kind of body of work. Yeah,
definitely.
But what about that early stuff leading up to it? I think you're a lot more familiar with it than I am.
Yeah, it's weird how. So the Doldrums, which was his first record, which was, if you want to say that, like, it's quite hard to pinpoint what a first record is for him, but in terms of like his first commercial release, which was with the Animal Collective guys.
Poor Tracks.
Yeah.
And they kind of discovered him, right? He managed to get a tape to them, and they were like,
right.
Let's get it out.
Yeah, well, he gave the, if I remember rightly, he gave them the Doldrums, which he had made during his art college, whatever days or whatever. And he gave them that, and they just stuck it on the tour bus whilst they were driving around. And apparently they kept coming back to it, and they were like, we've just become weirdly obsessed with this. And I have exactly that same feeling. So the Doldrums, if you listen to the Doldrums now, I think we should do it on one of our future episodes, but if you listen to it now, you'd be like, what the fuck is this? And why would anyone like this? Kind of thing. But then it is strangely mesmerizing, and I come back to it quite often, like fairly often, probably more so than Pom Pom, weirdly, just because it's the certain aesthetic, the lo-fi-ness, as you say, it's quite nice just to have on. It can be very ambient. I quite enjoy that production of it and all this stuff. But yeah, so that that early stuff was very, 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 very different. And like the drums, for instance, are just him like banging on a suitcase. It's crazy. But yeah, so but Pom Pom, as you were saying, like everything's led up to like where, he'd had some mild success with like Round and Round, for instance, and all this and a couple of others.
Round and Round was like, didn't Pitchfork call it like their best song of the year or something?
It's their song of the year or something, that's right, and it got a fair bit of airplay. So everything was leading up to this, basically. to this big release. And I think at this point, 4AD had probably been like, okay, well, let's, stick some money behind it, get him touring with a proper band. And let's kind of do this properly, as it were. And what a great result. What a great result.
Yeah, it's not often artists go from like being totally independent to joining a, 4AD. They're not considered a major, but they're a bloody big label. So it actually, actually worked out, in terms of his sound and the product.
Sure.
Like you say, I like that early stuff, and I like that sound generally in other artists. That like homespun, DIY. But this is like a totally different thing. This is all like, I love it's colourful in your face, cartoonish almost.
Yeah.
Big hooks, big melody. It's like Pom Pom. It's just like cornucopia, like a kaleidoscope, colourful melodies, sound textures, really interesting textures. That's the other thing as well. It's not just the songwriting, is it? It's all this interesting production, these decisions that go into it that makes it what it is. So
definitely a lot happening.
Shall we have a little bit of a listen and then move into a discussion song by song and break it down?
The sky was white and black and polka dotted. It must have been an Ariel day.
So the album kicks off with Sam?
Plastic Raincoat. God, fucked up already. Plastic Raincoats in the Pig Parade. I thought it was in the Pink Parade.
Oh. When did you find out it was Pig Parade?
Just now. When I actually bothered to look at it. I've just never really looked at it properly. And now it's like, oh, okay. I thought it was the Pink Parade, which for me kind of made more sense because it's his album and it's the Pink Parade.
You thought it was like, this is the intro to my Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was
Pink
thinking.
Parade.
It feels like very celebratory. It's a little bit silly. It's a little bit fun.
Yeah.
It's got, as you said, that childish, cartoonish nature.
Yeah, it sounds like something from a kids' record from the 70s.
Yeah.
A lot of it.
It does, yeah. It's got some weird sound effects and stuff which kind of comes through on this album. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a really cool one to kick off because it gives you a little bit of everything that we're going to get, but it's definitely not the strongest song on the album, which is good, I think. I don't think you should put the strongest song at the beginning of an album because then you just got disappointment for the rest of the running time. True. So I like this gives you a good song, and it's like this is everything that is going to be going on mostly in this album. I saw at the time some reviewers kind of saying like the lyrical content's a bit like obnoxious and kind of like drug related, but I've never really understood the metaphors that are going on there. But this was co-written with Kim Fowley.
Right.
So
who's Kim Fowley again?
Yeah, so he co-writes a lot of this. I think there's like 5 or 6 songs, and he died shortly after. I think he died maybe just before it came out, and he was.
No, that's right. Yeah, he was one of the producers, wasn't he?
Well, he was like he was an impresario, let's say. He released his own music, which I really need to check out. But he was the manager of the Runaways, I think, like Joan Jett and that lot.
Yeah,
and a lot of people have said some quite bad things about him.
Oh, really?
About his conduct. I think he's been accused of like various sleazy behaviour. But yeah, like in the 70s, he was really into all this like experimental stuff. He's just a guy, a weird and interesting guy. But he seems to have always been kind of, I think, like managing bands or like pulling the strings, involved in production. But he has had his own sort of like career as a recording artist as well. So this is basically like the last, I think, bit of his work was co-writing these songs. I think he contributed lyrics as well. I don't think he sort of like sat down with Ariel Pink and they actually wrote this music together.
Well, I think, I vaguely remember reading somewhere that Nude Beach A Go-Go and Jell-O was literally like he wrote the melody and the stupidity of it, and Ariel Pink just turned it into a song.
That's quite telling because they both really sound like 60s kind of surf rock.
Yeah, very much so.
Which again, I think he kind of like, he's from that era of the 60s, and yeah, they feel quite authentic there. And they there's nothing else quite like those songs on the album.
No, they are the ones that stand out as the most childish and cartoonish and silly. I keep using the same words, but it is a good analogy basically for what the tracks are. But yeah, I quite like this. Like it's fairly catchy. It's a bit silly, as we're saying. It's I quite like the whole like boom do 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 do, like you're watching like an old fucking Beatles. I don't know, like Yellow Submarine or something like that. I don't know. It's weird, but and it's quite a nice little intro. It's very happy, and I think that's also part of this song. And I think maybe that's that whole idea of Pom Pom is that when you think of like cheerleading and all this stuff, it's very like big smiles, happy stuff, like upbeat, positive, and that's pretty much throughout. Like I'd say a good 80% of the album, at least.
Yeah, but then it's tempered by. To me, there's just like something a bit weird and maybe a bit like seedy going on in this song. It's all like bright and happy and cheery. It's like this idea of being in a pig parade. Something kind of like, I don't know what it is, crass or gross about it. Not really quite sure what he is going on about, but it feels like something dirty to me.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. Cool.
Then we get the next song. And let's have a little bit of it. And it is White Freckles. White Freckles. Where'd you get them?
Where'd you get those? This is one of my favorite tracks on the entire album, to be honest. I like the melody. I like that it's weirdly quite dark in a strange way. And the way it just kind of speeds up at the end as well. I think part of the main reason I like it is the way the melody of the words, it's like tripping up over itself.
Yeah, it's manic.
Yeah, it's completely manic. And I quite like the idea of it. It's like so fast. And it's just, again, it's just a bit of fun.
I like how you've got the difference between like the earlier part, which is all kind of a bit slower. And it's kind of quite cool and he sounds quite distant and aloof.
Yeah. And
then it's just like, bam, you're into this like manic bit where, like you say, it's just like racing away.
Yeah.
It feels, to me, it's kind of like madcap, bonkers kind of sounds that, again, it's kind of, that is the sound of the album.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's like, I don't know how he does it as well. And he does this a lot with his tracks where there's, like how you get an earworm usually is the repetition of the same melody again, but with him, like across an entire like bar basically of music, it just goes everywhere and anywhere, and it might start from like it might start halfway through the bar on the next bar or whatever, and all this. So it's really weird. It's one of those things I always think of, and you're going to be like, ugh, whatever, but I think that's part of the reason why I subconsciously really liked like early Biffy Clyro. Fucking hate them now. But the early stuff, because it felt like there were so many intricate little parts, and you listen to it enough and it's still hooky enough that it gets into your memory.
Yeah.
That the fact that you know those details like scratches like an OCD kind of part of you, if that makes sense. Because it's so complicated in its own weird way. And yet you naturally know it. I don't really know how else to describe it. It's very strange, but with this, it's like you know, it's like if you're doing that to anyone else, they'd be like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? How's that a song? It's just a bunch of fucking weird notes put together. But it's really catchy. And yeah, just that, you know, where it slows it down for that verse and then it gets all like 70s and sexy and like, it's great. And I think as well, like the use of the backing vocals, which he does, which is really good because usually it's him or whatever, but on this album, it's he's used like women and actual other vocalists and whatever that adds, as you said, like a bit of texture to it, makes it feel a bit different rather than him doing strange voices, which is normally what it is. His backing vocals.
Should we mention one of the contributions on this album is from Soko, who's a French singer-songwriter and actress, I think. So Ariel Pink then also appeared the next year on 2 songs on her album, My Dreams Dictate My Reality, which I quite like. It's more of a sort of dream pop album than this one.
I don't think I've heard it.
Oh, you should check it out. Check it out. There's one song in particular that Ariel is on called Love Trap. I think he co-wrote it as well. I really like that.
I'm guessing they were going out at that time.
Who knows?
Right.
I remember her saying something about, like, if you watch the video for Love Trap, she's kind of like dressed up as him.
Okay.
And he was meant to come to the music video shoot, and he just didn't turn up.
Right, sounds
so
right.
So she was like, "Fuck this guy! I'm just gonna have to do it myself." I think she was like, "Yeah, he kind of let me down and everything," but she wasn't like too hard on him. But she was kind of like, "He's a bit of a fuck up."
Yeah, does not surprise me. But yeah, I really love this song. It's kind of comes out of nowhere. I think after that first like big like yeah woo kind of Plastic Raincoats, and now you're like, okay, now seriously we're into like the songs, as it were.
Yeah.
Now we're into the music. It's a really strong second track.
But then with track 3, I think things get even more serious with a pretty dark track. Let's hear a little bit. It's Four Shadows.
Four shadows hang lifeless from gallows of time.
Four Shadows, is that a wordplay, Sam? That this song foreshadows some horrible incident?
That's the only way I can think of it. I think it's you've got 4 shadows, and then around those shadows are skins. And they make up humans.
So actually, it is literally 4 shadows.
Or 4 skins. This is like, again, this is a very production heavy song, and it's a bit weird, like that kind of that oi oi kind of intro. And it's all, as you said, it's all like dark, and now it's all kind of like weirdly electro gothic or something. I don't know, it's really strange.
And then you've got this oi punk gang vocal.
Yeah it's really weird. What do you think of this one?
I really love it. This is my favourite song at this point in the album.
Oh, really? Right.
Yeah, I like the darkness of it. And again, it's just got like a really nice kind of like groove.
Yeah.
As well as the melody, it's that groove really gets into me.
Yeah, I like his vocals here as well. Like the whole it's all like dramatic, and you know, I don't want to say meatloaf, but that kind of like that kind of Shakespearean kind of like, you can feel it.
It's like a baroque baritone, a bit like the one that Kurt Cobain adopts on that Top of the Pops performance. It Smells Like Teen Spirit when he's taking the piss.
Yeah, it's true.
I love it, actually. I do love it when Ariel Pink kind of plays up on all these kind of like genres. It's very much like, it's a pastiche. I imagine some people hear it and just kind of like roll their eyes and think it's a bit silly, but for me, it just works. It works with the music, you know, it works contextually with, you know, how nutty the music is.
Yeah. That's the thing is that, and this track is quite evident of that, is that some people might listen to it, and again, it's kind of what I talked about Harry Murray earlier, and think it's like a joke track. But I'm like, no, it might be a joke track, but I think it's how do I put this? Like, because it's taken from so many areas, it becomes almost like a parody. But that's not to say that it's supposed to be not. That's not to say it's supposed to be like a joke song. It's more that it is actually a genuinely really fucking good song.
Yeah.
That uses a lot of maybe tropes from different parts of music put together that your brain is weirdly assembling from different parts of like your listening history. It's making you feel the feels. I don't know.
Totally. And that's actually so fundamental, I think, to his sound. And we haven't mentioned that yet, is that all of those sounds touch on some aspect of like nostalgia buried in your brain. So even though, he's written these great songs and there's this like really interesting production, then there's this like extra layer where it's like, I'm enjoying that just for the nostalgic pangs that I'm getting.
Yeah.
I hear lots of things from like 1980s kids movie soundtracks or like the idents from an old VHS, all of this kind of stuff. Yeah. And this is it feels like it's one of those. It's hard to put your finger on it, but it works. Hey, if it works, it works. So then we're on to track 4, which is Lipstick. Lipstick, not a cover of the infamous Rocket from the Crypt song.
Lipstick. I love that. Was it? All over my collar.
You bought me a CD single of Lipstick as a birthday present once.
I'm so glad that stuck out in your memory.
She don't wear makeup, only red lipstick.
God.
It's not that song at all.
It's not.
It's a different one that he's written on his own.
He's written on his bloody own. This is, I would say, the most easily accessible track on the album. So when I first listened to this album, this was the track that I would always go back and replay again and again. Because for one thing, it is fucking cool. It's a cool track and it uses those kind of pan pipe sounds that like Yay Sayer use a lot, or used to anyway. Maybe I'm making that up, but it's got that whole kind of like, it's funky, it's groovy, it's kind of, especially like post, I don't know, it's like almost like a bit synth wavy, but not quite, which I obviously quite like, but it's all like purposefully supposed to be like, like moody and sexy, and I love it, and it's great, and it's just got a
very
great
sexy
synth sound. Yeah.
I think this is where as well we get this kind of like that breezy sound introduced on the album that makes me think of like cheesy 1980s like California Games, and this whole kind of like Japanese city pop sound.
Yeah.
Where actually everything's kind of, it's pop music that's been taken to the nth degree and made so processed and saccharine that it almost comes out the other side as this like new art form. He's kind of grafting that into here as well, I think.
Yeah.
What's going on lyrically?
Yeah, something like he's killed someone and it's all a bit like sexy again. Like there's a lot of like, he does mix up a lot of like sex and death and things like that. Everything's a little bit sexy, whether it's for good or bad, especially in the next track, which we'll come on to. But it's a bit weird. I don't really know what the kind of meaning behind it is, other than it's almost like about a serial killer or something. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, I never think about it long enough to actually look it up or think about it. But every time I hear it, I'm like, what's all this about then, eh? So yeah, I just thought I'd get your take on it.
Yeah, that's what I think anyway.
We're pretty much in the same area there. something funny's going on, but we can't quite put our finger on it.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, this is definitely that I would say it's like, it's effortless. It's effortlessly cool. And it is the one track. If someone's like, if you think someone's like, you know, your normal average Joe or whatever, and you talk about Ariel Pink and they want to hear a track, this is normally one of the tracks that I would stick on and be like, take a listen to this, because I think it's hard not to like it.
I agree with that. Yeah. I think this is a good intro. Good intro to anyone looking to get into Mr. Pink. The next one,
Mr. Pink.
Mr. Pink. Like you said, more violence, and yet somehow not enough. Let's hear a bit.
Time is up, your doomsday clock sealed. Carry the cross, boy, and make your bed. In a place where all is unknown, face behind the mask of the sky, halfway spinning to a better place in the body of the man, mind of the girl. What's the view like from your bed?
Not enough violence. This is a bloody good song. I love this.
Yeah.
I get so
This is
excited. This is a long one, but it doesn't feel long, but there's something epic about it. I love that intro with like this kind of like sound of like ticking clocks.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's because it's like time's running out.
Yeah.
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 Time is up.
It's
all this stuff.
Something's coming. Something exciting's happening here.
Yeah. It's drawing you into its world already. Like you're Alice falling down the fucking rabbit hole or something, and all these little clocks.
Yeah. That's what
like
I imagine.
around you. Yeah.
Or like I'm in a Dali painting. It just something. It sets like a really surreal kind of tone. For what is actually then quite a cool like kind of electro 70s rock kind of song.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Yeah,
Not that straightforward, is it?
No, it's weird. It's like, it's weird because there's just so much going on in this song. So you've got like these heavily kind of compressed / slightly distorted, I guess, through the compression, whatever, vocals, which sound fucking cool. The drums are super heavy through this track as well, which kind of makes it slightly tribal. Not, I won't go that far, but like it keeps it like driving. It feels like there's something under it.
There's a lot of floor tom on it.
Yeah, and then it's got that weird. There's the I can't remember the word for it, but it's that instrument where it's like, and I don't know if it is this, where you it's like a electric field.
Electrotheremin.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
So it's like that.
Yeah, there's a high pitched
and
thing
that
going on.
Yeah, it's so weird. But that that noise, I should say, that sound against the music going on, like does like stuff to my brain. It releases some kind of weird endorphin because it's like because it doesn't match up and yet it does, and it's like your brain is working to try and marry it up, and because it's that wavelength is distorting slightly, it can't quite do it, and it's kind of creating a weird harmony, I think, like as well. And I'm going into it a little bit here, but like that's how a lot of like shoegaze and like My Bloody Valentine, specifically Kevin Shields, I think that's the kind of effect that he has, where it's literally the effect he has where he like uses his whammy bar, where it's like where he's like going over and under where it's supposed to be, and it's kind of drawing you in and make it. And he's done that on a very smaller kind of scale with that in particular, but it's still having the same effect where your brain is trying to like marry up the harmony almost. Yeah, but I love that. And then and that's just one part of it. That's just one that's just one part of the entire song. And then you've got this like big, fertilizer, and you've got this great
that massive chorus.
Yeah, and you've got these like great harmonies on top, and him like and it's all a bit like he's kind of got that David Bowie swagger and all that around it, and the whole thing is basically talking about. It's weird because it's like I did read an interview ages ago. I should have really researched this better before I came in, but I did read ages ago about it's basically on the surface it's about us as humans basically being factories to make babies,
right,
and that's it, of the fertilizer of the body farm or something like that. So the idea is that we're having sex now to just reproduce, and that's kind of what's going on. And yet there's, in his head, it's like there's not enough violence. Like that's all we're doing. Like we're not shaking up the world enough. We're just continuing to exist, and we're just becoming fucking factories. Women are just becoming factories to give birth to more power plants. Yeah. Or whatever it is. I can't remember the exact lyrics. Yeah. And
I never twigged that.
Yeah, and the idea is that it's like, shake things up a bit. It's not enough violence. Like, come on, fuckers. Let's, what are we doing here? What are we doing on this earth if we're not going to cause some shit, kind of thing?
I'm glad you explained that, because I've always had a hunch that it might be about the body farm. But I don't know if you know, the body farm is, when I worked in publishing, actually, we had a series of books, like the Body Farm thrillers, about some guy who... So body farm is where they take corpses... Right. And they basically just like watch them decay.
Right.
And from that, the feds.
Okay.
They're in America.
Got nothing better to do. Right.
Quite, yeah. Dress it up as science when actually it's just a sick hobby.
Yeah.
They sit there furtively masturbating watching them decay. No, what they're actually doing, they're following a very specific scientific process of analysis, and by watching like the rate of decay and things like this, they can ascertain details about how a person was killed.
Right. Okay.
So
it's not like there are these cat or whatever.
These body farms. So I was like,
right.
When we power plant bodies, and then the backing vocal is on the body farm, apparently. Although it doesn't sound like it. It just sounds like...
Yeah, it's quite hard with these lyrics sometimes. It feels like he's just kind of saying things that fit rather than... Yeah. Or the opposite, where he's trying to push in a lyric and you're like, is that actually what he's saying?
Yeah. Which is cool, actually. I mean, this isn't music that we listen to for great meaning, is it? And I like that it's just kind of like words that work.
Yeah.
But it's cool, like there's a bit of deeper meaning in some of these.
Yeah, it's great.
I hadn't figured that.
It's great, and the bass and the drums, do 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 do. I'm just like, I'm in. It's like just that in itself. It's just hooky as fuck. It's great.
I love it. This is one of my favourites on the album for sure.
Yeah, same here, definitely.
Then we get a song, very different, tonal shift. Apparently co-written by your pal, Jorge Elbrecht.
Yeah. Yeah. Put your number in.
Put your number in. You know my name.
I'm not going to call it. But...
Give me the number.
Let's have a listen.
There's magic in the air. The night sky breaks your face like a mystery left uncovered. Talk to me. It's now or never. Make believe I last forever.
Put your number in my phone.
Yeah. This one had a music video, so this was kind of used as a sort of promotional hook for the album. What do you think about that?
I think I've seen it. Is it literally where they're just like, it's Ariel Pink just kind of dotting around like LA or whatever, like on the street, trying to get some girl to, like literally some girl putting a number in. I remember, I think I've seen it, and it's just so fucking like
is he in a
student
wheelchair though? Yeah. I think he's in a wheelchair and he's dressed up to the nines in all that
LA
sleazy trash gear.
Okay. I don't remember being in a wheelchair. All right, maybe I haven't seen it properly.
I think maybe you're thinking of In My Dreams.
Yes, I am thinking of In My Dreams. That's right. Yeah.
I think this one's like, it's pretty similar, really, frankly. Right. But yeah, I think he's like met her somewhere, but he's in a wheelchair. I can't quite remember if that's right.
You know.
And then
So
she's pushing him
random.
around.
Well, it's funny because the whole fucking George or Jorge, whatever you say, Elbrecht's, his whole thing that we saw was him in a fucking wheelchair.
Oh, yeah. It was all about like medical.
Yeah, with the fucking nurse and
True,
the thing. And there was like the dancer you thought you knew, like at the front, you know, her face was all bandaged up or whatever.
Yeah.
That was really good. I want to check. I want to re-listen, go back to those songs that he played. But yeah, he apparently co-wrote this, and I know they're mates and whatever. But this is very like twee. I'd say it's very like light and poppy.
Yeah. So it's just a piece of bubblegum pop.
Yeah, not in a bad way. It's still like, it's still. I still think it's quite nice and catchy and like breezy, and it's got that cool little bit where it's like, and I do like. It depends what it is, but like sometimes when they have these little like, you know, hey Ariel, this is blah blah blah, blah whatever she says, and all that. I do quite like that. It's not the first time that he's put in like. I mean, I'm not. This is probably a fake one, I imagine, but I remember like in what is it? I can't remember which track it is where he put his dad. His dad left him a voicemail or whatever, so talking about speeding or parking tickets or whatever. So I like the when he uses things like that. You know, I don't know. That's just a bit silly and a bit fun.
It's very cheesy and it's very sort of like teen melodrama.
Yeah,
and it's very similar to that song "Love Trap" that he did with Soko, because there's something in there where it's like a break, and you hear this dialogue of like, "Ariel, don't hurt me that way," and wait, is this going to happen? And don't break my heart. And you're like. I can't believe they've been able to do this with a straight face.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like they push it and just do it so straight that you kind of like you buy into that whole like 90210 kind of vibe.
Yeah, and that's what this is.
What's happening here a bit.
Yeah, exactly what this is. It's like poppy, and again, like you could listen to any of these tracks independently from one another, and you would never be able to guess the album. If you know what I mean, what album it's going to be like sitting on. But this feels like, and again, I really like the harmonies in this song, especially the chorus, and the melodies, I should say, especially the chorus where there's the harmonies. It's just generally a nice, bright song that comes on quite nicely after this big, epic, darker number. Now we're kind of back to like the poppy side. And to be honest, like we're now going into, I guess, for the next like third, or well, to be honest, like towards the latter half of the album, which is, even though it's only 6 tracks, but you know what I mean, like where everything starts to get a bit more. I mean, it's already a bit surreal, but it starts to get a bit more like fun and playful. I think we're starting to get more and more into that territory as the album goes on, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah,
well, the next song continues with that poppy feel, with track One Summer Night. Let's have a little listen. Another great song. This is one of my favourites, especially in terms of like the kind of pure pop songs. It really feels like something from like a package holiday in the 1980s.
Yeah,
someone would get up and sing it on stage for all the like horrible blotchy red British families that come on holiday. It really sounds like a wedding singer or something, and he really lays that vocal on thick.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because if in my head. It's kind of like a Japanese karaoke thing.
Yeah.
It's got that kind of vibe to it. It's the way he performs it is like someone trying to sing like an American or something like that, which is what was making you think.
Yeah.
Like, one summer night, whatever. It's like
and it follows the melody specifically, doesn't it? Like the vocal, like you've got ding 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 do do do.
Yeah,
and his vocal, like the range of it, it's almost like Alan Partridge or something when he starts too high or something and then he can't get high enough and then he has to go like really low instead.
Yeah.
Because then it's going higher. Da, 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 da,
yeah.
da, 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 da.
Yeah, it's true, yeah.
But I really love that. I find that really satisfying.
Yeah, I do as well. And again, it's like, it's still super catchy. It's doing a lot of different things. It's going to places within the song that you didn't really expect it to. And that's the thing, like with some of these tracks, and this is kind of one of them, when it starts, you're like, oh yeah, okay, I remember. And then it gets to a bit where you're like, oh yeah, I forgot that bit was coming up, kind of thing. And it's drawn me back in, even though I've listened to this album a million times.
Yeah.
And it's
still surprising hooks, goes in surprising places.
Yeah, because it's funny, because when you said about that, da, 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 I was like, oh yeah, fuck, I totally forgot about that bit. But then that's, it's just all these like little great moments of genius, each put into each song, and then all those put into one album. God, you lucky people who don't know what you got in store for you.
I think there's a note here as well where it's like, it really hits me emotionally. It's really like achingly kind of like yearning, and it's very earnest, actually. I think a lot of people probably hear this and think, it's kind of steeped in a layer of irony, a lot of this stuff. But I think his melodies, they're quite sort of heartfelt. Yeah, and they can really actually push your buttons.
Yeah, I think because he's so fucking weird, he lives in this world, if that makes sense. Like, so we're looking at this from an outsider's perspective and being like, oh, that's funny because it's like this, or it's like that, or it relates to this, or this seems like a silly lyric, when I think he is enveloped in this kind of world where actually, as you said, I think these things are kind of actually quite heartfelt, no matter how they're presented or anything like that. It's just, we find this kind of talent and madness, I don't know, like addictive, I guess, from our perspective. And as you said, like weirdly earnest, and yet we don't really know why, but that's because he's able to do it with such confidence and belief that, and with such talent behind it, that he pulls it off and makes it even more special.
Yeah. In a way as well, if you kind of step back from just enjoying the music as it's meant to be, it's almost like if he was a character in a film or a book, it's basically like a guy who's grown up in this like post-war era of America and has just like sponged in all these influences, all these different types of musical genre from the pop sphere, mostly, and like TV and culture references. And it's kind of like, that's his language now for expressing himself. And this is it. Poof. But so it's always like, oh, it sounds like a pastiche of this, or it's a little bit cheesy here, but actually it's very passionate, I think. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
That said, the next song is Nude Beach a Go Go. Let's go, go, go.
Skin game overload, skin game overload, skin game overload. Nude Beach a Go Go, Nude Beach a Go Go. You can do anything at Nude Beach a Go Go. Rattle, llama, ding dong, surfer, Billy, bing bong. Nude Beach a Go Go, Nude Beach a Go Go. You can tag along if you're young and strong. Nude Beach a Go Go, Nude Beach a Go Go. All the kids will be attractions.
This is another co-write with Kim Fowley. This is just silly tongue-in-cheek stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pure like, like you'd expect it like Austin Powers or something like that. Yeah. But it's weird because it's got that kind of like, as you said, like surfer vibe, that 60s, swinging 60s or whatever. But then it's kind of got a weirdly melancholic chorus. And there's a weird melancholy kind of around it where it sounds actually a bit sad. So you've got this super, super like uber happy, hey, here we are, blah, blah, blah. New beach go, go, da, 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 no, no. And then, and then the chorus and all this stuff is like a little bit sadder almost. But it's strangely, it's a bit nothing. It's a bit more throwaway. It's more throwaway ones of the album. There's still something there, but it's not as endearing, I guess, as the other tracks.
It's almost like something, like you said, you'd see on TV, but it's like they've pulled back the curtain and actually the people performing it are like desperately unhappy and they're being forced to do it because they like need the money or something.
Yeah. They've also got like, it's also one of the, like the second verse or whatever is just a key change.
Yeah.
It just goes up a key. But yeah, forced to do it. Yeah, it's true. Like a Twilight Zone. Yeah, I still like it though.
Me too. Again, it's just another little nugget in the whole
Fucking hell. It's you with
toilet bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
Huh?
You got like whatever you said, like stick it in Mr. Pink, a nugget in the hole. Like, what is going on? Arse related anal fixation going on at the moment.
It's all in your mind, mate.
It's not. You're the one doing it.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Let's move on to
Goth Bomb.
We won't dwell on that nuggets. Let's move on to Goth Bomb.
Oh, sorry, Goth Bomb. Yeah.
Why can't I write the words down right? Why can't I write?
What did you say? Goth Bomb? You dirty, dirty
I
man.
said gut bomb. Which I thought you'd like. Yeah, what do you think about Goth Bomb?
It's okay. I think again it's a bit one note, this one. I like it, but it's one of the weaker songs, I think.
Yeah, I like the fact that he's doing something different here, like, and that it's trying to be like, I don't know, like the 70s rock kind of thing element to it, which is great. Yeah, it is kind of I probably like the song more than you do, I think. I think I quite like the melody, the vocal melody. I'm not too hot on all the guitar solo stuff. I know that's kind of part of the style of what this track is supposed to be, going for. But I don't mind it. It's okay. I just quite like I like the way it speeds up towards the end, for instance. It becomes that again, a bit like manic. And it's trying to be like almost epic, but it's not. But I'm kind of like give and take about it. But
I like the bit where they're singing like, "How can I ride the bus? How can I ride the bus?" It makes me think of the Ramones. Like, pleased to meet you, one of us. Pleased to meet you.
That's true. We talked about going to the Pinhead. So it might be something there as well. But yeah, that whole thing of like, I mean, I think the lyrics are, "Why can't I write the words down right?" And I quite like that.
I like that lyric. That's cool.
And I like the melody of it. I like the way it rolls off the tongue. I like the way he performs it, and I like the idea that he's just like, I'm shit at writing lyrics or something. Like, why can't I just do this right? Why can't I write the words down right? And even that sentence in itself doesn't sound right, which is what's great. Yeah, I quite like it. It is like weirdly trying to be like a bit, like rocky. I want to say like metally, but it's not. And yeah, what do you think a Goth Bomb is?
I think it's so let me just take that question and reframe it slightly and give you a bit of context here. Because one of the albums that I always thought of that this seems very similar to, or must have been influenced by, is Todd Rundgren, A Wizard, a True Star, and also the album that came out after that, which was just called Todd. It's very similar. It's this big smorgasbord of like all these different styles all crashing around together. Lots of different songs, then like some short ones, longer ones. You never know what's coming next. And it's all about experimentation in the studio. And I actually mentioned this to someone who's like friends with Ariel.
Right.
And I was like, is this basically his A Wizard, a True Star? And she was like, I'll ask him. And she came back and was like, yeah. Yeah, he said, basically. Because a lot of people say like, oh, it's your like Dark Side of the Moon and all that. And that's all like bloated, proggy. It's not the same. Todd Rundgren stuff's like, it's fizzing with energy.
Okay.
It's this, and it's colourful. But on the album Todd, he's got a song called Heavy Metal Kids.
Right.
Which has a very similar vibe to this, I think.
Okay.
And that it's kind of like suddenly you get this like the crunchy rock one. And basically he adopts the persona of this like surly teenager who's like really angry, and it's basically like, I'm going to like blow everything up.
Okay.
I'm going to like screw up the whole world. And I feel like that's what Goth Bomb is like some guy who's like, I'm an artist, but I can't get the words out. So I'm going to drop a bomb on society or something.
Yeah. I do think it's weird because it's like goth. It's nothing gothic really about it. And then I think, is it because of the people latch
style
on? Yeah, well, yeah, true, actually. I suppose the vocal style is a bit gothy. I was thinking, is it because of like, as well, the kind of way that emo has kind of absorbed goth as well? Yeah. I don't know. But yeah, should we go to the next one, which is perhaps the most experimental one, maybe?
Probably the weirdest.
Dinosaur Carebears.
I love this song. There's nothing else out there like it. It's incredible. First time I heard it, couldn't get my head around it. And I was listening to it earlier, not just because I was listening to Pom Pom, but I think I've like included it in about 3 or 4 different mixtapes I've done for people over the years.
Yeah.
I think it's my go-to because it's just like so staggeringly weird.
Yeah.
What do I like about it? I love like bonkers use of sampling in here. All these weird like cartoon sounds, like jabbering dialogue.
Yeah.
But that first half of it's also like incredibly catchy.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is a song of 2 halves, right? So let's just talk about that first half first.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's just, yeah, it's bubbling.
Yeah.
And you just don't know where you are in the song or where it's going. And yeah, it's just so joyous and exciting.
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's like someone flicking channels with a TV or something. Yeah, it's like you know what's happening or what's coming next, or anything like that weird like mystical start where it's like, oh, you're in like, Egypt or something, and then like,
oh yeah, of course, yeah.
Whatever, and then and then you've got those weird like toys, and all this, like it's just fucking exactly. It's like just thinking, what the fuck is going on?
So it's like a clash of that, which is like, to me, it's kind of like the sound of like crass commercial, like American 1980s kind of TV.
Yeah, true. But there's still a melody there. It's not like
it's still great.
It's not like a collage of just noise.
No.
There's still music there.
But like culturally, like that to me is like 80s commercial America sound morphed, melded with this like the like mystery of the Middle East.
Yeah.
Like, shining scimitars and like the advert for Turkish Delight.
Yeah.
Like what an incredible collision of 2 completely disparate sounds. Amazing. Yeah. I think that's what I love about it. Just like so astonishing to hear those things together and melded so well. And it just sounds great.
Yeah, well, that second half. And that's the thing. Whenever I listen to this album and I hear like that intro bit, I always think like, oh, I don't want to listen. I don't want 2 minutes of like listening to this bit or whatever. Like,
it's intense.
Yeah, and then I always remember, but the second half, because like the last like 2.5 minutes is just like groovy, fucking like you can imagine going to like a sheesh bar or something.
Yeah.
And it's like this, I know, good, whatever, some kind of smoky jazz, not jazz, but you know what I mean, like smoky place or whatever, which is like chill out and all this. I'm like, fucking hell, it's just great. Those just last 2 minutes, which is like, it's a fucking sweet ass thing. And for some reason, you've stuck it at the second half of this weird experimentational noise fest, which is great. Which is, you know, why not do that? Like, where else is it going to go, kind of thing. But
that's what I love about it. I
Yeah.
love that like juxtaposition of those two completely different pieces of music. To me, I think it's based on ethio jazz.
Right.
And I think there's a song on, I can't remember which album it's on. Is it on Before Today or Mature Themes? Yeah, it's on Before Today. There's a song called Reminiscences,
Right. Yeah.
which is pure ethio jazz.
Oh, I can't remember which one that is.
That is pure. So I think he's kind of taken that sound and, like you said, he's made it a bit kind of like more like a funk, smoky kind of vibe to it as well.
Right.
But yeah, it's a very cool little 2-minute piece of music that, and again, just like adds another facet to the whole like experience of the album.
Yeah. Sorry, I just quickly listened to it while she was talking there. Yeah, it is. Reminiscences is really, really good. Reminiscences.
I think that might even be a cover, you know. I don't know if he's credited as the songwriter on that, but it sounds very, very similar to something that's on one of the Ethio Peaks compilation CDs.
All right, yeah, it's very good. And yeah, it's a weird title, Dinosaur Carebears, because it does make it kind of fit in with the toy part of the first half more than anything else. And then you've got this weird, it's almost like he's testing you. Do you know what I mean? Like, to get to a certain point, because you think people probably skip it by that point, and then here's like a groovy track that you'd probably be expecting to listen to.
Yeah. It's
weird.
It's like, how much of this can you handle?
Yeah, but I still like it. I still like that first half. Don't take anything away. Yeah, it's good.
Well, I think I prefer the first half, but I think the whole track as a complete piece is, one of my favourite songs on the record.
Yeah, fair enough.
Then we move on to track 11.
Yeah.
Negativ Ed.
Negativ Ed, don't play my bassline, road dickhead.
I really like this song. I just like the way it's fucking straight out the gate. It's almost like a game show. You can imagine, like, it's all like, you know, big and like it's like almost like a sitcom. Do you know what I mean? Like, when we talk about the game show thing, and then and it's like, you know, all the little, like, again, the backing vocals doing something weirdly different, and yeah, it's just the chorus is really fucking good. And again, it's just like a bit silly, stupid, upbeat. And I just like the way he performs all these. It's just so weird, like the choices he makes when performing this stuff. Like, it's just weird. But yeah, I really like it just because it's like, it's full of energy. It just like gives you a kick up the arse after that last song, whether you've listened to the first bit or this is the whole thing, whatever. And again, it's kind of like built into that celebratory pom-pomness of, you know, you go, oh, you know, Negativ Ed, what a dick kind of thing. You know, it's all about being positive. It's not about being negative, literally. Yeah. And I like it. Again, it's not my go-to track or anything like that, but I'm always reinvigorated when it comes on.
Yeah, that is a nice summary, actually. I think I often kind of pass over this one, or it doesn't really stand out to me, maybe because it's a little bit more straightforward. But I think, like, one of the strengths of the album is the sequencing. Yeah. And like you said, it's in a good spot. It makes sense, like, after that long, hazy end of the last track, to be like, brow, pew. Yeah. Nya, 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 du, 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 du.
Yeah.
Nya, nya, nya.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. Yeah, it's just, again, it's still like weirdly poppy in its own weird way. Yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. But I don't think there's much else you can say about it, really.
No. Let's move on to your forte.
Yeah.
Track 12, Sexual.
Emotional Tactics. Oh,
athletics.
Sexual athletics.
They call it sexual athletics. It doesn't rhyme with anything.
Don't call it perversion, Dan, 'cause it's not. All I wanted was a girlfriend all of my life. It's so fucking. It's what we're talking about being earnest. Like this is. There's something here. Again, it's kind of like, bear in mind, he's like a 40-year-old man or whatever at this point, and there's something like this kind of like teenage, like, oh dear, like it could be like a teenage boy or a teenage girl. Like I'm obsessed with sex, but like, you know, oh, I just want to be loved, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's so cheesy to the point of almost being cloying.
Yeah,
but like you say, it's just done like with such seriousness, commitment to that it works within the context of the music.
Yeah,
which is, you know, it's pretty silly.
Yeah, it's that's the thing. So like I'd say like the first, I don't know, like most of the song basically is him to like funky, like bam 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 bam. So like almost like a fucking blaxploitation film or something.
Yeah,
and he's like, you know, he's riffing over the top of it, like he wants to go to the emotional Olympics, boo, whatever. It's like, yeah, because he's all like sexy, boom, boom, boom. Got some kind of like James Brown kind of like stuff going, do, do, do. And that's why I like it, because I think of this all that fucking soul, but not quite ness. It's kind of like picking up that vibe without actually outright doing it, still keeping it Ariel Pinkish. And yeah, totally riffing off all that stuff. And then suddenly it fucking turns into this like cutesy little, oh well, I don't know, oh shucks kind of like song, which is just totally the antithesis of what's just come before it, which I really, really like. And then it's this like nice little like ditty, like a smaller, like more innocent kind of like poppy ending to the track, which is really cool because it's not how it fucking begins. It's all this like swagger to begin with, and then all this like honey and sweetness to end with, which I really enjoy. It's kind of like a fun track. I listen to it more for the experience of listening to it rather than like, I really love this song, if you know what I mean. I'm going to play this song because I love it. It's more just like a little journey or a story almost, or whatever. Yeah,
totally agree. It's just a cool kind of sound. Nothing more to add to what you said, so should we just wade into some Jell-O?
Let's do it.
Jell-O, 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 Jell-O. Yeah! Jell-O, 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 Jell-O. Jell-O, 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 Jell-O. Jell-O, 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 Jell-O. Sticky cubes of Kool-Aid action. Liquid sky, quick satisfaction. Jell-O, 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 Jell-O. Jell-O, Jell-O, Jell-O.
This is another co-write with Kim Fowley. I think this was like the second song I heard. So I was like, yeah,
weird track.
Like this. Give me more of it.
Such a strange. Why would this be the second track? What was the first?
First was Picture Me Gone.
Okay.
Which I'll talk about when we get to that song.
Yeah.
And then I think I was just like, what should I look at next? And I was probably listening to it on YouTube. It was probably like the next video.
Okay.
It was like someone had uploaded Jell-O.
I imagine that in my head, you would have picked it just for the title. Like you would have hand selected it just because it said Jell-O and you would have been intrigued.
Because I thought it was green Jell-O.
Well, yeah, maybe. But I think you would have clicked on this thinking, I wonder what this is going to be. And I would imagine you had an expectation in your head when you read that title. And I bet this would have ticked that box of what you were expecting.
Absolutely.
Or what you wanted to expect, at least.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. It sounds silly. It's like a party, children's party gone wrong, in your face, stupid, big brash. But also there's like this kind of, like I said, it's like sleaziness about it.
Yeah.
Kind of,
Ooh.
There's obviously a drug reference going on here.
Yeah.
So I liked that little bit of that element of danger.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very, it's strangely abstract for something that shouldn't be abstract. It's like it's robotic as well, and so like I eat Jell-O. So it's like almost like trying to be like an advertisement, like a jingle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then it will have bits like where it comes out with that weird solo, whatever, just out of nowhere.
Yeah, and that solo, I love the way that this song's mixed because it just is so loud.
Mm.
It doesn't feel like it's mixed in the track. It feels like it's sitting on top of it.
Yeah. And again,
if you're into like really like technical production, there's a lot of stuff going on here that would probably horrify you across this album.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, that's what I love about it. It's so surprising.
Yeah, it is surprising. It sounds like when it comes in, it's almost like as if it's, take it to like a live studio or something like that. And then it goes boom, do, or whatever, like back to the original kind of like track. Yeah, it's weird. I probably, to be honest, I skip it usually when it comes on. Yeah, it's just, for me, it's, I just can't be bothered with it. Like, I'll listen to it if I'm going through the album or whatever, but if it's like I'm actually paying attention, I'll probably skip it.
I think the reason I saw this is because it was made into an official music video.
Okay.
So that's probably why when I was checking him out for the first time, it probably popped up. One of the things I like here are some of the lyrics. They make me laugh. Everyone eats white bread. That's why they're all dead.
Yeah. Everyone eats white bread. That's why they're all dead. Right.
And like you said, when he's like, I eat Jell-O. I eat corn. I eat Jell-O. Before I was an embryo, that's why I was born.
And then there's that little talking part.
Yeah. I just like that idea. He's like, somehow eating Jell-O on a kind of, what's the metaphysical level.
Right. Right, yeah.
Makes me think of the Garbanosia, whatever the fuck it's called in Twin Peaks.
What? In Twin Peaks?
That's that cream corn stuff that they all eat.
Oh, fucking hell, yeah. Jesus Christ, you're knocking on a memory back then. Fucking hell.
We won't go down the Twin Peaks rabbit hole then.
No, not for that. Not that. I need to see it again.
Let's move on to track 14.
Yes.
Which is Black Ballerina. This is a really cool song.
I love this song.
What a funky bass line.
Mm.
That cool, like, walking bass line. Dun, 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 dun.
Yeah.
I think this is I don't know if it's one of my favorites, but it's definitely like a standout track.
Mm.
It's got its very own distinct vibe.
Yeah.
I think at this point into the album, really cool to have like a new kind of sound and like a really catchy hook.
Yeah.
I was talking to a colleague like years ago in the lift. Oh, what are you listening to? I was like, I'm listening to Ariel Pink. Oh, I don't know that. I was like, yeah, it's really good. I'll send you a track. Sent her Black Ballerina.
Why did you send that one?
I just thought it was really cool. It was probably the last one I was listening to.
Like 2 minutes of talking.
I was just like, it's really cool. Well, she never responded.
Yeah.
And then I thought, and she was black, and
a ballerina. She's wearing a tutu in the lift. It was weird. Right.
I just thought, and then there's all this stuff about talking about going to see a strip show, and I maybe she thought it was inappropriate.
Yeah, it's because it was, Dan. Fucking hell. Jesus, man.
Should have taken your advice and sent lipstick.
Yeah, exactly. At least make it like, murder porn rather than, porn. Yeah, so this one is like, it's weird because it's one of the few tracks in life, I guess, where there's loads of talking in it, but I will stick with it and I enjoy the talking. I think because it's almost like a sketch. So you've got the Germs drummer or whatever, who he toured with, but it also does these like little bits. That comes in and about taking this like innocent little boy, Pink, basically to a strip club, the best strip club in LA or whatever. And yeah, he kind of does something inappropriate there, whatever, and then the song kind of starts. But I like the little to and fro. I like the fact, as you said, it's got that dun 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 dun.
That's so cool.
Or whatever. And it's almost like you are watching a sketch thing. Like it's almost like there's, you're watching a little skit, or it's like I don't know, whatever. But I really like it. I like the kind of performance of it, and it's got some real like, just the lines that they say stand out for me. I love your areolas, baby.
Yeah.
What's hands off, mister? Or whatever, and all this stuff. I quite like it. And then it was also a big payoff because when it goes into the actual song is fucking great. And that chorus, Black Ballerina, whatever, I'm just saying. And then that David Bowie thing again, innovators, manufacturers, or whatever. Like he really is going for fucking pure David Bowie in those bits. It's
but
really
it actually
good.
makes me think of a lot of that noughties, like turn of the millennium, look back kind of stuff, like Zoot Woman.
Yeah.
It's got that vibe to it.
Yeah, definitely. Like 80s, retro.
80s nostalgia.
Confident,
retro.
like swag. I always use the term swag, it wasn't right, but it is relevant. In terms of you're saying things because they're cool and you can say them like that, and now it's just David Bowie again. No. It goes from David Bowie to I don't even know what this is anymore, turning to an alien.
Robbie the Robot.
Yeah, exactly.
That bass line as well, I just realised it sounds a bit like Blame It on the Boogie by the Jacksons.
It does a little bit, yeah. It also reminds me of Toe Jam and Earl or something.
Oh, yes. I was going to make that reference myself, but I thought I've used up all my Toe Jam and Earl references for the year.
Used it up.
So
it does sound like, like it's the background for like the game or something as you're walking around. It's great. It's it's just a cool song and a cool chorus. And with the talking bit, that might put people off at the beginning. So like, what the fuck is this? But it's worth it. It's a great song.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Okay. We've then got track 15. Like I said, this was the first song I heard on the album. Actually, I think it was the first Ariel Pink song I heard.
Okay.
Picture Me Gone.
Let's make a toast to glory days when you were 8 and I was only 41. I dedicate the selfie to the little guy who will outlast me when I'm done. Look into my camera lens and straight through me.
Danny, Dan. Could you picture me gone?
I can't imagine how I would do this on my own.
Well, yeah, I've had to a few times. What do you think about Picture Me Gone then, as your introduction to Ariel Pink, as you said?
I think it's a strange one. It's not emblematic of the album as a whole, is it? It's a very different sound, very sad, essentially a ballad. But I think the first time I saw it, it wasn't the video. It was him doing it with a classroom of school kids.
Excuse me?
Which presumably you haven't seen.
No.
So that was the first, that was my introduction to Ariel Pink. And he's basically like gone to a school and he performs the song for the children and they're singing along as well. And then they ask him loads of questions about like, what's it like to write a song and be a singer and all this sort of stuff. It's really great. We'll have to look it up.
Okay, well, fair enough.
And I was like, I'll be honest, it didn't hook me immediately, but there was obviously like enough of a little earworm that was then hanging around in my head. Just a little, maybe like an emotional kink.
Yeah.
Or a little key change or something.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to hear that song again.
Yeah.
And then I went on and I found the music video, which is really cool. And he's got these like horrible, featureless kind of rubber masks on. And it's like these like lonely people
Okay.
with these masks. It's really effective. It's quite horrible and haunting and creepy, but kind of cool. Yeah, and I find it really heartrending. It really works for me. And he does like big emotional like vocal, like straining for that note. But I love the idea of like this stuff about, you know, look for my iPhone when I'm gone.
Yeah.
And you'll find like the pictures of my memories. It's really sad. I think, yeah, like lyrically, this is one of the more interesting and successful songs.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because this is kind of like the ballad piece, I suppose. It's still it's epic, but I don't know, it's quite thin, I guess, as compared to like the rest of the album, the rest of the production. It's never like, it never stands out, but then I can always, every time I read the title, I always hear the song in my head, obviously, because it's in the song, but it's in like, it's quite, as you were saying, there's something there that's quite catchy in itself. I like it. It's, as you said, it's quite personal. I know he can be a troubled individual. And it's that idea of like, I guess like, and a lot of people have this, and especially when you're like an angsty teen, where it's like, imagine if I was dead.
Yeah, exactly.
Sound like Richie from Bottom or whatever. Yeah, I'm dead, right? All this just gone, whatever. But yeah, I can imagine that's kind of like the sentiment almost behind it, even though it's quite quite a sad thing. It's also weirdly puerile. I don't know, in its own way. It's
like he's singing to an imagined child. Well.
That's right. Yeah, imagine when you. That's right. Yeah, that is what it is, because it's like, imagine when you were 5 and I was 31 or something.
Yeah, because I don't think he has any children, so it's almost like he's imagining himself like in another life where, you know, maybe he was a father, and he's imagining this is what he would, the advice he would give, but the advice is like, you know, like really morbid.
Yeah,
it's like, this is like the legacy of what you're going to pass to your child is like, when I'm dead, get my iPhone and you can see the pictures.
Fucking hell. It's not a top song, but it is quite nice. I think it sits quite nicely here on the album as well.
Yeah, it is a top song though.
Okay.
And do check out the music video, people.
Music video, people.
And the music video.
Yeah.
We're nearly at the end.
Yeah.
Track 16, Exile on Frog Street.
Yeah.
Banished from the junkyard paradise, stuck in Vegas with my loaded dice. Looks like a vacant rotten tumbleweed. Gone and tried to succeed by that highway broken down. Exile on Frog Street, exile on Frog Street.
So what did you think of that one, Sam?
Exile on Frog Street. It surprises me. Again, it's just such a weird choice. But again, like we were saying with one of the previous songs, it's like bringing me into like its own weird cartoony world. There's just so much kind of happening and going on, and like there's that like kind of like dreamy secret, just like whatever. It's like going back and forth. I'm like, oh, where am I going? And then, dude, it's like, oh fuck, it's just so fucking weird. It's just really weird. But strangely, like, I would imagine this would be the song that people like the least, because it's so stop and start in its nature. So there's no like swing to it. There's no real like, you know, rhythm. There's nothing to keep you hooked. It's very disjointed. But I quite like it.
Yeah, it took a long time actually for me to see the sort of value of this song. It definitely does not hit immediately. I like all that stuff as well. You know, like in Sexual Athletics, you've got some of this like silly dialogue. It's like, me, the Frog Prince.
Yeah, I forgot about that bit. Yeah, that's great.
All this fairy tale stuff. It's another weird one. I don't know what to say about it, really.
I don't know what to say about it. It's literally like a weird, like you stumbled across like some strange Saturday morning cartoon show.
Yeah.
But it's strangely enjoyable.
The only thing I can think of that it's similar to is the Beach Boys. Mount Vernon and Fairway, a fairy tale, which basically in 1973 they did this album called Holland, and they literally all moved from California to the Netherlands,
Frankfurt. Oh, okay.
And they took all their like recording equipment and like the studio and everything, and they were like, maybe it'll encourage Brian Wilson to be a bit more productive. And he was just like, he got there and he just checked out and he was like, not interested. And all I want to work on, he just wanted to sit in at home, and he just worked on this thing called Mount Vernon and Fairway. And it's really sad actually, because on the surface it sounds like kind of like this, like it's quite silly, and it's all played on these like horrible primitive synthesizers. And it's this song about the Pied Piper that comes out of the radio and takes the children in the night to like a magical land of music.
Right.
But it's kind of like this man who like basically is losing touch with reality, and he's quite sick. Right. And it's kind of him like reminiscing about this like nostalgic period as a child that he can't recover. And that is like, that's the only thing that this kind of like sounds like to me. But that is in and of itself worth checking out. It's an amazing kind of like weird piece of music in like history of like mainstream rock.
Anything about it.
And they didn't want it on the album. And the only way, basically like the concession was they had it as a 7-inch EP. So it kind of like sat alongside the LP. They were like, we don't want it on the records. This is not what our record is going to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you like odd stuff, that's a little tip.
The beach. Yeah. What do you think XL Frog Street is actually about then?
Just some
being a bit different
fairy tale reimaginings with him at the center of a love story, I suppose.
Okay, interesting.
Why? What do you think?
Interesting. I've no idea. Don't know.
Obviously, there's a play on Exile on Main Street.
Yeah, true.
I don't think that's too much to read into.
Yeah, maybe it's just poking fun. Simple as that.
So, Sam, we're at the culmination of the album. 17.
Yes.
The fabulous Dayzed Inn Daydreams.
I died unknown, stillborn one morning. Letters on paper, they remain. At last my work is done, the picture's gone, but the memory lingers on. Farewell, this one's for you. I used to dream away.
Do you like this song?
Yeah, it's strange one to close out on. It's again quite light and nice to listen to and poppy. It's kind of like after X on Frog Street, it's kind of like brought it back to what the album is actually all about, if that makes sense. But yeah, I quite like it. What about you?
I love it. I think it's a really good closer. I think it's a lot more conventional than most of the stuff here. Yeah. It's got a kind of like heroic kind of vibe to it. Like it starts out kind of this like understated, and then it kind of like grows to that big chorus of like I used to dream, and then in the break there's like a cool like kind of like jazzy kind of like funk guitar breakdown, and then it kind of like comes back all like energetic. And it's all about that, isn't it? It's like someone who sounds like they're kind of like down on their luck, and now they're like coming back. And then it kind of like just fades at the end. It feels like quite a sort of like, again, like 1970s kind of like classic rock kind of like vibe to end an album on, like an Eagles record or something.
Yeah, Fleetwood Mac or something like that.
But it is very, exactly. It is very got cheesy, still like cheesy 80s pop sound in there. And this was one of the songs I played to someone to introduce them to Ariel Pink, and they hated it. They were like, I can't believe you like this. It's like it's awful. Because they just heard that, like, to them, it's like cheesy production sound. Right. Which, if you're just like used to listening to, I don't know, like rock music or jazz or whatever, you might hear that and go, it just sounds puerile and stupid, and miss all of the intricacies of what's going on underneath it.
Yeah,
and I think that's what happened. But then later on, she went, "Oh, actually, you were right." So that was very validating. That it is great, and you are great, and your opinion is right.
And you got married.
Well, no, but we bumped into her then at that Ariel Pink at the Heaven gig. I didn't realise she was going.
You and me?
Yeah.
I don't remember her.
I was like, I thought you didn't like it. She's like, no. Turns out you were right.
She was at the gig.
Yeah.
So that was great. So you showed her a song, and then like months later or something, she's at one of his gigs after saying how awful it was.
Like a year later.
Unbelievable. No, well, good on her. You know, that's how, you know, things happen. You spread the word, and people got on. It is a great song. You're right. It's like having that again. It's like that yearning, that kind of melancholic chorus thing. It's, you know, you put it quite nicely. The fact like someone like bouncing back, and then you've got this kind of like I need it alone or whatever, like the acoustic guitar. Like it's all like. Like, and
it's
then
like a Wrigley's spearmint
like
gum advert.
Exactly, it's really weird. And then this big kind of more contemporary kind of chorus, but yet not at the same time. And it's a nice like big kind of closer, but still keeping to that tone of what's just come before. If there could be a tone for this album, it's a great closer. That's what I mean. Like I'm looking at the track listing here, and I'm like. Each one of these just is fucking. I'm kissing my fingers here, sniffing and licking and kissing. Just love each one of these, and I could go back. I could easily go back and go back to do and start the whole thing again and go straight back in, and go on another journey through Ariel Pink's fucking manic brain, which I love to unwrap myself in, jump around. It's great. Brilliant album.
It is a brilliant album. Just, God, if you don't know this album, just get stuck in.
Yeah, I honestly, I'm jealous. I know like people say this about certain things, but I'm honestly really jealous of people that would just be like, what's this? Like, I might just stick this on. And then like, do you understand? You've got 17 fucking tracks of amazingness to kind of see you through. And even if you have listened to this album, on top of that, you've still got loads of other albums that he's done that are still like fucking great. Like if you could hit all his like main out, like so hit Before Today, hit Bobby Jameson and all this. And those are, I would probably say this is my favorite still. But those are like up there. Like if you remember, I think Ariel Pink dedicated to Bobby Jameson was my number 2 album the 2010s. I might be mistaken. It was number 2 or 3, I think. I believe. I think was it? Maybe it was Idols, but it was definitely up there.
It's high up there. High up.
Yeah,
that is glowing. That is glowing.
What about you, Dan? What's your final impressions, I guess, of this album? What do you think?
Towering achievement. I really do think there's nothing quite like it. Like I said, love the songs, but for me, it's like all that really creative production that's going on, and like the sheer energy and kind of like love and attention that's gone into that, into creating all these weird and surprising textures and sounds that they're constantly surprise. They constantly like undermine what you expect. And yeah, I can not listen to this album for a few months. I can put it on and I can forget little details and they'll like wow me all over again.
Yeah.
So it's got longevity as well, this record, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. Like each fucking track has like 6 different hooks or something like that. And each one of those is a high quality hook that sometimes you don't even find on one fucking album. You get an entire album of shit and you're like, there's nothing here that's going to hook me in. There's not one fucking earworm. There's not one thing which is interesting. And then this has, like 6 per fucking track and you've got 17 tracks.
Yeah.
Think about it. Do the math. You do the math.
That's a lot of bang for your buck, people.
Exactly. Go out there and get it.
Well, that's what we think about it. But what do other people think about it in the reviews?
I hate it.
So usually I like to go for the real shit stirrers at the bottom of the barrel on Amazon, but I've actually gone to a few legitimate reviews here that I thought were quite insightful, actually. So the AV Club stated that the album feels at times more like a singles collection than a cohesive album, which isn't to its detriment.
Yes, it's true.
It's like that thing of like, by hopping all over the place and giving you a little bit of taster of everything, like a smorgasbord. It's actually...
Yeah, you imagine this is someone who's like looking back on their career with all different... They've experimented with all different types of sounds and in different decades and different genres, when it's not. That's all.
Then Spin said, it's a record that's as full of unforgettably kaleidoscopic melodies as it is surreal shout-outs to Dolly Parton and Kurt Cobain. Pom Pom is just about as beautiful of a mess as Pink himself. No need to get personal.
No, to be fair, calling it a beautiful mess is, I think, quite apt.
Yeah, no need to call him a beautiful mess, though. I mean...
He's not beautiful. He's a mess.
The way Pink zigs and zags on Pom Pom can be dazzling or confusing depending on listeners' patience. In its own way, it's one of the best representations of what makes his music fascinating and occasionally frustrating. That's all music.
Yeah,
I think that's fair, actually.
Yeah.
Some people, this just might not be for you. Some people.
Yeah, but that's part of why I like it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like a good fan service album. Actually, it rewards if you get all the kind of like references it's making, those musical references, and you like them. And basically, I think especially if you've got that, what do they call it, hypnagogic pop, that nostalgic aspect.
I don't know.
It's going to pay. It's going to pay off.
Saying, okay.
One last one. The Observer. This was Kitty Empire writing for The Observer. The unevenness of Pom Pom is a stumbling block, even allowing leeway for lysergic I've completely fucked this.
Oh my God.
Can't even read it. Let me try again.
It's probably how she's written it. It's a problem.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Kitty.
It's not me. I'm not saying it wrong. You writ it wrong.
You writ it wrong. Perfect use of the English language.
The unevenness of Pom Pom is a stumbling block, even allowing leeway for lysergic non-linearity.
What does lysergic mean?
Like druggy.
Okay.
Oh,
that was it.
I mean, that's it.
I mean, whatever. Yeah. It's not a stumbling block.
No.
That's the thing, is like sometimes I think, okay, I don't know, maybe it's an age thing as well. Like when you get used to hearing things that are just cohesive and, we wanted to make this album because the whole album is a concept album, or like, we were listening to a lot of Blur at the time, so we made an album like Blur, which I love sometimes in its own way. But sometimes I'm like, I want something that's just going to fucking mix all those up in a tumbler. I want to see what comes out, which Ariel Pink does a lot. And especially in this album. And for someone, it's just too much, man.
Yeah.
I can't take it. But there's an element where it's like, okay, hopefully you'll have enough of your like albums that hit that one note and and there's nothing wrong with that, but you'll get to a point where you feel saturated and you're like, I just want to fucking listen to something. And that's like, we were talking about this the other day, we were talking about noise music and all this stuff, where it's like, I just want to listen to something that's maybe like just pure chaos. That's that's not necessarily like easy listening on the ears, that has like mainstream appeal, or that, something everyone could enjoy, fucking whatever. Sometimes I'm just like, I want to listen to something that's just going to fuck my world up a little bit because I just want something different because I'm old and I'm sick of listening to the same shit again and again, day in, day out. So yeah, I don't know.
That's what's surprising about this review from an Amazon buyer. 2 stars, strange and strangely boring. Very strange stuff, pretty whimsical in places, and I have to say I didn't really enjoy it much in the end. Ultimately, after 2 listens, I was bored. So
I'm surprised at that, because I don't think I think it's the antithesis of boring to a point where someone could say there's too much going on.
Sounds like they just weren't able to penetrate it and engage it with it.
Yeah, I don't think it's. I don't think you can call it boring.
I
mean, like, unless you listen to like the first. The thing is, if you listen to like the first, if it's just the whole album twice, I don't know how you can call that boring unless you're not listening to it. I don't know.
Maybe
it's weird.
Maybe
what was he expecting?
Maybe he confused it with an album by Pink.
Yeah, true. Was he honestly listening to it, going like, "Oh, typical," or like, "Oh, I knew it was going to do that." Like, what the fucking world are you on? Idiot.
One more. 2 stars. Irritating garbage. Infantile. Shades of Elvis Costello on Viagra.
Well, I'm not too much of an Elvis Costello fan that I would be able to know what he'd be like on Viagra. To be honest, I think the fact that it's like saying it's like juvenile and a mess, I'm like, yeah, all right. I agree with that more than the last one. Like, if you don't like it, it's cool.
Yeah. Well, sometimes some of those songs, like we said, sometimes they go out of their way to sort of be a bit precocious and puerile.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the Elvis Costello on Viagra bit I wasn't sure about.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be. I just don't listen to Elvis Costello. I always think when people say like, "Oh, he's like one of the great," I'm like, "What's he?" I honestly don't know. I'm trying to think of like, I know some Elvis Costello tracks. I'm having trouble thinking of one, and I'm having trouble thinking of like what this influence he's supposed to have had.
There's some good stuff. I've actually got about 6 of his LPs now.
Right.
I think a lot of his best work isn't that well known, but
I'm just not aware of it. I just don't know.
No,
it
exactly.
At all.
He's had a handful of singles, but most of it's all album stuff. But I'm just worried. I'm not worried, but I'm curious. Sorry, because this reviewer doesn't have a name. It just says Amazon customer. So I'm thinking, who actually would know what Elvis Costello on Viagra is like? Is this Elvis Costello's wife?
God. Well, that's if you're being nice.
Yeah, it could just be a groupie.
No, it could be his son or something.
Okay, let's end there before we drift into the world of legal issues.
What? Yeah, okay.
Let's go to Nerd's Corner, because it's nice there. Let's luxuriate in the nerdiness. Right, this is an album that we both own on LP, because it's a fun one to own. It's a double album for a start. And it's in that nice big old pink jacket with the word Pom Pom on the front, embossed in black with all that nice glitter in it. That's cool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is nice. Yeah, it's a nice looking album.
Tactile thing.
Nice.
Get your hands on it.
It is.
Give it a rub, pour over it. I didn't have it on LP until it was a few years in after it had come out. So I was already like, this is one of my favourites. So it was really cool when I got it, actually, because there's all these drawings by Ariel Pink inside.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, I noticed. Yeah, when I only got it like last year or whatever. But looking through it, I was like, oh, this is nice. This is cool. Nice little extra bit which I didn't even know existed. I forgot to say, when we went to see him live, he was selling the lyrics, wasn't he, to the album? Do you remember? Like, and he would be like, "Oh, hand sign them for whatever." And I think, "Oh, fucking, you know, how are we to know?" Like, I would have liked that, but he must have just done it for that tour or something. Because I haven't seen anything about it since.
What were they? Were they printed booklets or?
We didn't see them. We didn't go over, and I don't even think we went over to look.
Oh man,
probably.
That's a shame.
Yeah,
that is a shame. Did you know, Sam, the Japanese CD,
extra tracks,
not on the disc, but it came with a limited digital download, which ended December 2015. So you could get it for a year. Bonus track, Heaven Knows What.
Okay, don't know that.
I've got it.
Good.
I got it somehow. Got hold of it, but I can't remember it. I can't remember. I think he then later. It's quite a long song. It's nearly 8 minutes long. I think he later re-recorded it for some sort of like film project. That then I don't know even know if that came out. But I think it's on a 7-inch single. But yeah, I think that's a different version. So there's a little track for you to root out, Sam. If you want to go to that extra, if you want to go that extra mile of nerdiness, you can consider it almost the 18th hole in the Pink Pom Pom.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dan, knowing that I haven't listened to it, heaven knows I'm miserable now.
What a sad note to end this episode. There we go, though.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it was good. It was reminiscing about good old Ariel Pink. God, it's a long one, isn't it? But I hope everyone enjoyed having a listen to that, because yeah, it is truly one of our favorite albums.
It is.
And yeah, do recommend checking it out. And yes, as we were saying before, just go through his body of work. There's tons. Like, I haven't even listened to it all.
No,
like, there's tons of shit there. Some of it, to be honest, some of it, the smaller stuff, demo shit, whatever, near unlistenable. to be brutally honest. But it's all there, and there's songs that are like track 6 of 25 on some forgotten album thing that suddenly makes as Dan was saying, suddenly makes a re-emergence on some other album. It's been knocked about and tidied up and produced a bit slicker, and then you realise that there was a nugget of a song there all along.
Dive in and enjoy the Ariel Pink, and don't listen to what people say on social media. It's all about the music, man.
Yeah, do give it a listen, because you will not regret it, I don't think, anyway. And that's it, I guess.
Yeah, peace out, Odd Squad. Hope you enjoyed the Pom Pom.
Yeah, Pom Pom out.
Bye.
See ya. Hey guys, thank you for listening to Oddcast Movies, Music and Gaming. If you want to get in touch with us or get a movie, album or game put on our list to discuss, then email us at oddcastoddballs@gmail.com or a newwinterpodcast@gmail.com. This is part of a New Winter Podcast network, so head on over to anewwinter.net to check out our other shows. You can also follow us on Instagram at A New Winter, Twitter at A New Winter, and you can head on over to our Patreon page, patreon.com/anewwinter. Thanks for listening, and see you again soon.